Do you know the figures of your documentation? If you had to relate effort and result, would you have to guess or could you look at concrete figures? Do you think that an independent controlling system would be oversized, but you'd still like to know where your documentation is and how it develops? Imagine that you had a system that did not only create, administer, translate, and publish your documents for you effortless and cost efficiently, but also give you the respective key figures. My name is Matthias Heine. For over 20 years I have been a freelance technical author, translator and interpreter, and I'm owner of the company SingleFeeder, which produces a technical authoring system. This system bundles all the knowledge and experience that I have gained in my practical work. In this presentation I'll show you which means an authoring system can offer to show you the figures of your documentation. The authoring system SingleFeeder offers you just that. It creates transparency, which shows you the extent of your documentation, the share of translations, the rate of reuse and the development of your documentation over the past years. That gives you a clear overview of the elementary key figures in your documentation. This is the overview. The overview of the key figures covers 4 areas: the size of the database, the growth in the last year, the reuse and the translations. On this screen you see the status of the database with the amount of documents in it, in this case 417. You see the amount of pages, in this case 2487. This figure is a calculated value based on the number of characters in the database. And you see the number of sentences in your documentation. In this case it is 32,474. In the next section of the window you see what you did last year. The screen looks back to the last 365 days. It shows again the number of documents, pages and sentences that have been added to the database during the last year. In this case it was 46 documents. This database is designed for a yearly growth of 1,000 documents. This is why it indicates of 1,000 possible documents. Here you get an immediate impression of the performance of your documentation. These 46 documents had a total of 772.6 pages with a total of 8,417 new sentences. The third section of the window shows the reuse rate. In this case it is 62.2% and the share of translations. In this case it was 72.1% of the database that have been translated into at least one language. These 2 factors are very important if you want to measure the efficiency of your documentation. Apart from this, you also see the number of languages that you have activated in your database. In this case, it is 14. This overview shows you the key figures and the performance of your documentation at a single click. And it does not only show your performance, but also it makes your documentation transparent. But how does that help you? Well, besides the benefit that I've just described, you can use the figure to relate your documentation to other performances of your company. This could be, for example, the number of products and the degree of modularity they have, or the share of international turnover that should reflect in the amount of translations that you prepare. With SingleFeeder, I have shown you a solution that automatically delivers you the key figures of your documentation, and you will not even need an additional piece of software for this function. I would also like to point out my video to calculate the potential savings in your documentation. You will also find that video on my website www.singlefeeder.de in the section Benefit in the category Knowledge. I'm always happy to receive comments, especially positive ones, but also constructive criticism is very welcome. I'm also happy to answer individual questions personally for you, especially if you're interested to use my solution in your company. You can reach me at mheine singlefeeder.de, or you'll find my contact data on my website www.singlefeeder.de. Thank you for listening so far.